This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all on a lovely Sunday morning. I am Vaibhav Khandelwal, and on behalf of Time Nashik, let me welcome to this session how we made it to a Dream B school. So, in today's session, I would be joined by two of our achievers. First, Gunjan Satyarthi, and then I have Aditi Ushir. Gunjan and Aditi okay, so both of them are here with us. Let me briefly just introduce them. So Gunjan Satyarthi is currently a student at I.M. Lucknow, while Aditi Ushir is a student currently at XLRI Jamshedpur for their business management program. Both of you, thank you so much for taking time out on a Sunday morning, and thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to see both of you, and it's more important, such a happy moment and proud moment for all of us at Time Nasik to see both of you at such prestigious B schools. So, our guys, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
Aditi and
Thank you,
Gunjan.
sir. Thank you for having us. It is a pleasure to be giving back to a group of students whom we were a part of last year. And without sessions like this, nothing would be possible from our end also. So thank you for having us here and thank you for giving us the privilege to represent time.
Our pleasure, Aditi. Gunjan.
Yeah, actually, it feels very honored to be, invited to such a talk because I've always attended these talks on the other side, and I was always hoping like I would be on this side also someday. So thank you for this opportunity, actually.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. Considering the fact that Sundays are no more the kind of Sundays that you used to have before joining these B schools, right? So I understand that it takes a lot of effort to devote some time to having a discussion with all of the students, and that's why I am really thankful to both of you for joining us today. Okay, so with this, let us start with the idea basically is that how can we help or how can you help our existing students crack CAT and more importantly go beyond CAT to get into those coveted institutions which you people are right now in. And I think from a student's perspective, I think it would be very important the kind of feedback that you put in, because as a faculty, we have a different perspective. As a students, you have a better perspective, better insights how of the psyche of the students themselves. Right. Okay, so let me start with you, Gunjan. What made you decide that you want to take up an MBA program in the first place? So what was the rationale or what was the thinking? Okay, I want to take up an MBA program now.
See, I joined as a manager in bank very young. Like after graduation, immediately I joined as a manager. I had zero training, and honestly, I was not very good at my job initially. So as and when I worked for a longer period of time, I realized that education is important. I'm working and I have the hands-on experience of a manager, but education I don't have. So if I don't have that, I will not be able to switch my job someday later. So, for not restricting myself to a particular field and industry only, I chose to go for an MBA, and that is about it.
Right. Aditi?
Yeah, so I come from the very typical engineering graduate background. So as soon as I graduated, I started working as a full stack developer in a company in Pune. So I really liked my job initially, and I had this mentality when I was doing my engineering that engineers should not do an MBA because that is a waste of your engineering degree. But then when I started working, I understood, okay, this is MBA is more about management. It is more about understanding all the different domains of business, like business strategy, finance, and I wasn't aware of any of it. As I interacted with my manager, I understood how a plethora of things he did, and I was just sitting in front of the computer doing nothing. After a few months passed, I understood that my job was totally monotonous, And I, being a person, I was always interested in interacting with people. Talking to clients is something I wanted to do one day. And I finally came to a conclusion that this is not going to happen if I keep working as a software developer. So that was a moment of realization where I decided, okay, I want a front-facing job, and the one degree that can give me a front-facing job is going to be an MBA. So that was my realization and moment of truth. And yeah, pretty much.
Right. Guys, just want to understand from both of you as to how do you approach a preparation for an examination like CAT, because that as an exam, and more importantly post exam, it's not a, I must say, it's not a direct exam like for some of the other exams which you get direct questions, you answer them, you move on, right? So CAT as an exam requires a lot of lot of determination, a lot of ups and downs which are there. There's not a linear journey as we talk about. So Aditi, first I want to understand from you, how did you approach the preparation of the exam itself?
Right, sir. So I joined the course relatively later as compared to my other peers. So I started working on my entrance examinations in July, like around this time last year. And the first conversation I had with Vaibhav sir was, "Sir, am I too behind? Will I be able to do this?" So the first thing he told me was, "Okay, we can do this. We'll complete our portion till October, and you still have a month to give your mocks." So the first thing you need to decide is what colleges you are aiming for. You need to aim for the best colleges, and if you aim for the best colleges, you're going to put in your best effort. If you don't aim for the best colleges, you're always going to lag behind. Uh, Most importantly, whatever is done in class, do it immediately. Don't keep things piling up. If sir has taught a topic like profit and loss in class, uh, go do like refer to the textbooks that are given by time. Give There is a thing called sectional tests which are available on the portal. Give them. So do this every day and don't let the backup pile up. Also, mock test is something which is very important. Talking about linear curves, initially I had very low scores in VARC. So my BRC was really good in class. I used to attend all the questions. RC was 100% accuracy in class during an interaction session. But when I gave mocks, I got negative scores because I had this fear of taking tests and I did not test well. So for me, adapting to the test environment was very challenging. And as Sir said that it's a exam which tests your current mental scenario. So being prepared to different kinds of questions is something which happens only when you practice a lot. So the main key to cracking any examination is practice. Yeah, that would be it.
Gunjan, your take on this, on how did you prepare for an examination like CAT, as rigorous as CAT?
See, honestly, my approach to any exam is first of all check what the exam actually does. Like for CAT, purposefully, the first thing I did was to take a mock. I had already joined time like when I was in my graduation days because I thought like after an engineering degree I'll go for MBA, like what she said, typical engineer and then MBA. But at that time, it didn't happen. But one thing got clear that whenever I'm going to approach this exam, I have to first check like where exactly the questions are and how they are, and then I'll check what reality check I needed in the first place, what I needed, where I need to study, what I need to practice, how much I need to study something and all. So my first approach was this because basically CAT preparation can be divided into two parts. Like your CAT test taking ability is different, and your preparation is completely different. Like you can finish the syllabus, but you still can't confidently say that you will ace CAT because your test taking ability is what is tested basically on the day. So my approach was that only. First of all, first finish the syllabus, whatever and however material you're getting from whichever institute. Like even if you're a student of time, it doesn't hurt to get material from somebody else just to understand the concepts and then give aim cats and keep on giving them. Like every week I was giving aim cats. I did not score that high on the CAT exam, but I think whatever I scored was because of that practice only. On the test day itself, your preparation doesn't matter. Your test taking ability matters. So this is what is needed basically. Nobody, I think, some people fail to grasp this. They're like, "चलो syllabus हो गया है, अभी हम लोग सब कर सकते हैं." But test देना आना चाहिए. Like that is what CAT is about. I feel so. That was my mindset about it.
Good, guys. I think both of you have highlighted a very important aspect. Is one is that preparation and test are two very different things, and that's something which we also keep on discussing in the class as well, that just preparing is not enough. You need to give tests. Aditi, just want to come back to this idea of fear of tests, right? So a lot of students like you have this fear of tests. I'll give tests and I'm not going to do well. I'll get demotivated. Marks hi nahi aa rahe, all those kind of things. So I just want to understand from you, Aditi, how did you approach a test in terms of, not in terms of the examination strategy, but in terms of the mental preparation towards attempting a test? If you don't do well, then how do you approach the test from more of a mental side rather than from an examination strategy side?
Right. So I would say till September end, I used to fear taking tests, and whatever AIM cats were scheduled, I used to always take them on the last day in a hurry. Okay, I have to get done with this, and I have to get some marks so that nobody shouts at me. After that, I talked to sir, I talked to ma'am, and they told me that if you do it like this, you're not going to get the results which you're expecting. And up until that point, analyzing AIMCAT was also a fear for me because I used to do things which is like completely tangent to my thought process at the moment. So the mental capacity, talking about the mental capacity, I decided on doing something such like removing the marks wala funda from my head, and I decided I'm going to only test how much I know in an examination and not over attempt. But the main problem I had was if I did not get anything in the paper, I used to over attempt. So the one thing I removed was I stopped over attempting. I stick to only those questions which I thought I knew at least 90. I was 90% sure of, and I started to give the aim cats in the middle of the schedule, not towards the end, not towards the start. And I had this mindset that don't agree or don't focus on the marks aspect, focus on the accuracy that you're getting. So that is how I started approaching my exam since as October like started setting in. And I agree that a lot of students have this fear because I am somebody who's overcome that, and I'm always being bad at test taking. But at the end of the day, accuracy is what matters and not your marks at this stage at least.
Right, Aditi. I think a very valid point that you've raised is not to worry too much about the marks which you get, because that is what is the biggest fear in the minds of the students who would attempt test or not tend not to attempt test because they feel they would get less marks. Gunjan, just want to understand that what is the kind of structure that you followed in terms of the schedule, everyday schedule to prepare? Obviously, I can understand that the schedules are not going to match because everybody has his own strengths and weaknesses. But still, if you want to chalk out a timetable for somebody who's starting preparing from now onwards, right, or who has just joined us in the month of let's say April or May, and he has around 7-8 months of CAT preparation, what kind of a schedule that would like to chalk out for him for the remaining days so that he can get a reasonable amount of percentile?
See, I was working already, so my day was packed for 10, more than 10 to 12 hours every day, including the travel and all everything. So from my perspective, I would suggest early in the morning you should start and finish whatever the lecture and the daily thing that you have to do. Like, don't skip that part. You have to attend all the classes, even if you don't pay attention for the entire duration of the class. At least stay in touch with the concept that is being going on. And second thing, practice. Like every day you're attending the lectures, it's fine, but you have to apply that somehow. Like even solving a 5 or 10, page question, like it's fine. You do that. Like 10 questions per day. Practice, practice, practice. So for those students who are starting right now, first focus on finishing the syllabus. Every day, 1 to 2 hours extra practice you'll have to put in, apart from the lecture part, apart from the actual what is being taught to you and what you study. Like both these things you have to do. And closer to the exam, and if somebody needs to mute.
Yeah, I'm muted. Yeah, please.
Sorry.
No, no.
So the thing is, even if you're preparing and you're not prepared enough to give an aim card, at least give it once a week. You will realize how much you're doing well or not. And reality check is important. Like I used to, take it personally. hey, I'm not scoring well, shit, I should not take it. I should back off till I know I've completed like significant amount of the syllabus. But I would suggest don't do that. Everybody try to make a mental note that this doesn't reflect on your actual CAT. You have to take this because it's a part of preparation itself. So once you are confident, like even if I've done 5 questions, I've done 5 of them correctly. The rest of the questions that I've not attempted, it's fine. I'll attempt it next time. So aim card giving is very important during this phase also. I feel if you're given access, well and good. Everybody should do it once a week, twice a week, whatever the schedule is going on. So that is from
Gunjan,
my
just
end.
Gunjan, just want to take it forward. Since you were already working, how much time, and some of the students that who are joining us today would also be working. So how many hours in a day would you typically give only for your CAT preparation? And did you decide upon a time that you would give to every day to CAT preparation?
I actually did, and it is going to be very unrealistic for some people because it was a very, very struggling period of my life. But I'll still go ahead and tell. I used to wake up at around 4:30 or 5 every morning, and I used to leave for work because I was in Bangalore at that time. So travel was such a challenge that I had to leave as early as possible in the morning. So I would squeeze out like 2 hours or 3 hours in the morning also, and then a couple of hours after work also. So around 5 hours on average, I used to give daily. So I know it is going to be unrealistic for a lot of working professionals here today, but that is what I did because it was a really challenging period of my life. I would have failed if I had not done this. So well, it depends on everybody actually. And it depends on an individual how he's going to perceive, what they have to do and what it is needed to be done. I knew that I required time. Like some people grasp concepts like like this, but I don't do that. I take my time to understand that, and then I take a lot of time to practice it, like in and out. But some people are already good, like some already people who are an engineer and they have just completed the graduation. They'll be like very great at catching the concepts and mathematics. But I was out of touch of the studies for a long period of time. So for me, it was needed. So as an individual one can grasp कि हमें कितना करना है आज के दिन और क्या schedule है. So I used to map out every day. Like I didn't make a weekly schedule. I used to make a daily schedule. Like every day, like today I have to do this, next day I have to do that. Like that I used to do. So my weekly goals were not there. My daily goals were there. So that is what helped me as such. So anybody can take inspiration, I think, whatever. So that's it.
Right. Aditi, coming back to you, since you joined pretty late in the almost in the month of July, right? And there would be few people who had just joined in the month of June and July who are always skeptical about the fact कि CAT जैसे exam होगा या नहीं होगा, right? Can you help them understand how do you go about preparation for the next 4 or 5 months to probably get into an institution like an XLRI and crack CAT an exam like a CAT or a ZAT for that matter?
Right. So this is always going to be the first fear that people who join in July are going to have. I would say always be in sync with what is happening in class. So what I followed was the first thing I did every morning was read two articles. I read articles like ma'am will give you resources. She'll tell you to read Business Times or Economic Times. So read those articles and summarize those articles. So this is going to help you a lot in your RC. Second, always daily do at least two diverse DILR sets, which is very important. And third, whatever is going on in class for quant, suppose as I had told, profit and loss, solve the entire exercise, do the sectional tests as well. So this is what you have to do on a daily basis. Keep following and keep be in sync with the class. And at the same time, taking the sectional test, you'll understand where you are failing in a particular topic. So as the day goes on, you have to polish each and every topic because you have no time to come back and revise any topic, and you have no time to skip any topic. So polishing every topic then and there becomes very important when you have started your preparation so late. Also, you need to reach out to the faculty. They are going to help you a lot, but then for them to help you, you have to reach out to them and tell them this is my problem, this is what I'm facing, and I need a solution for this. They are going to help you if you approach them. Otherwise, there are going to be hundreds of people and they don't know whom to help. So approaching the faculty becomes very important. Being in sync with the class becomes very important, and completing all the assignments that are given to you becomes very important. I think these three things are very important. And thirdly, as fourthly, as everybody has rightly mentioned, taking AIMCATs. In the starting, you're not going to be able to attempt 5 questions also. You're going to be able to attend only 2 questions from quant. You're going to attend only one DILR set, not even one. You're going to attend one or two sub problems in a DIR set. And same happens with VRC. Everything will go wrong in VRC, especially for the para jumbles, the odd man out. But still give it a try and try to understand, try to go through the video solutions. Yes, that is what I will say. Don't skip an AIMCAT because right now we are not in a position to skip AIMCATs at all.
Right,
That would
Aditi.
be it.
I think thank you both of you for raising this important issue of AIMCATs, right? It's something which we keep on harping every time in the class, that AIMCATs is something which is the most important component of a CAT preparation, and without that, it is virtually not possible to clear CAT until and unless you give mock CATs. Okay, so all those who have joined in late, Aditi is currently in XLI Jamshedpur for her business management program, while Gunjan is currently in IIM Lucknow for her PGP program. So some of you have joined late. This is where both of them are currently studying. Guys, let's from preparation, let's move on to the actual day of CAT. I know it's a examination which happens once in a year, right? You know, if this not this year, then straight away to the next year. And obviously there is a lot of nervousness as well, the kind of, and more importantly, if you have done well in mock CAT, there's a lot of expectations which are also built around you. Correct. So okay, so I know these students have done well, so we understand that nahi, these people will do well in CAT as well. So expectations from teachers, expectation from your friends, parents, you know, all of those things come into picture. So want to understand from both of you of how do you actually manage these expectations, because there's a huge pressure, there's nervousness around this. So let me start with you, Aditi, for this. How do you do this?
So I had this ad proc session with sir 3 weeks before the CAT examination took place, and he told me that we have expectations from you, your parents have expectations from you, but that doesn't mean you need to be pressurized. So this is a very important thing for everybody to understand. If you go into the examination hall having all these expectations from people, you are going to do really bad. You are going to mess up every section thinking about other stakeholders who don't have enough stake in your journey ahead. So it becomes very important, especially your parents. They want the best for you, but the expectations they have, you have to keep all the expectations aside. Talking about the cat day, I was very confident on the cat day. I was very happy that okay, the day has come and I've worked hard towards it, so it is going to be a good day. But as so, there's this thing called after every slot, you have analysis for the slots coming out. So please stay away from those analysis. Don't read those analysis because that is what happened. I read all those analysis and I went in with the mindset that this is going to happen to me. Okay, for slot one, for instance, if VARC was hard, for slot two, if DILR was hard, for me, quant is going to be hard. This was what I went in with, which was totally wrong. And that is one of the reasons I messed up in my CAT examination. So I still remember I went into my CAT examination. I had a really good VRC section and I finished it a minute early and I was happy. Okay, I'm going on to my DIR section now. In my DIR section, for the first 25 minutes, I could not solve one single set. And that was a trauma which I carried to my quant section. And in the back of my mind, it was still playing that quant is going to be hard. And quant was my strongest suit, strongest. Like I could solve any quant problem. And I could solve only two quant problems on that day, only two quant problems, which actually made sense. I attempted others, but I could solve only two quant problems. So expectations is one part of the thing. I would just suggest don't go through the slot analysis that come through because that ends up messing with your mind. And don't carry the traumas which you have in a particular sections to another sections. Don't I carried my DLR trauma to my quant, but eventually I did get a 90 plus in my DLR section, but my strongest suite, which is quant, I messed up big time in quant. So these are the two important things that everybody should understand when they go for an examination.
Right. Gunjan, same question to you as well. How do you manage the set of expectation? How do you manage that nervousness which go along with CAT?
Uh, for me, see, my parents and my teachers, nobody was like, as such, I was not actually thinking like what they're expecting of me. I had my own expectations of myself because I have like 5 years of work and I knew that if I don't do it this year, it will be done for me. Like that is the goal that I had given to myself already. So my expectations were enough burdening for me. And honestly, I don't want to refute any answer here, but however much you want to say na, that I don't want to put any pressure on me, like this is going to be there. The first thing is to accept it. Yeah, pressure होगा, आप उसका कुछ नहीं कर सकते, वो होने ही वाला है. The best you can do is कि find ways to make yourself feel confident enough to handle it. Like for some people ना, it is very confidence instilling कि आप lecture ये एग्जाम के 2 मिनट पहले तक आप बुक लेकर पढ़ रहे हो, तो उनको लगता है, उनको satisfaction मिलता है, like I've studied in the last minute of the exam. So it's just an example. So do whatever makes you feel confident enough to give an exam so competitive. So for me, it was like studying till the last day. I was not studying as such, but I was still in touch with the studies for the last day. Some institutions also, give this advice like leave the studies aside for last 3 days, just chill and make yourself comfortable. My suggestion would be find out whatever makes you feel confident. If you have done everything and you know you've done everything and you're just overthinking, then take a break. Take a break for at least a day before CAT and just be in your comfort zone. But if you're like always worried, यार नहीं हुआ है, अभी और करना है, then तुम और करो. मतलब you feel confident, and then when you go to the exam, you're like, ठीक है, everybody's expectations are there, but I know where I stand and I'll do my best. So that is what I thought on the actual exam day. Like this is it. This is my attempt at CAT. Whatever I've prepared will show up. Whatever I've practiced will show up. The one thing I will not do is take stress कि ये question नहीं हुआ या वो question नहीं हुआ. जो भी हो रहा है वो 100% solve करके ही निकलना है. समझ में आ रहा है, answer निकल रहा है. You are confident that you have applied all the method. Just take it, because there is no way to tell if it was right or wrong before the answer key actually comes out. But yes, do the best you can on the exam day, and that was it. Like for me, that was it. I will do whatever it takes, and even if it goes bad, like I did my 100%. So that is the satisfaction that I carried with myself during the exam. Like even after the exam, I feel like I could have done better. I will not feel that because I did it. Like you have to feel that during the exam, like I am doing 100%. Like is there something more that I can do while you're giving the exam? Do it. Because after that you'll feel like यार ये कर लेना चाहिए था, ऐसा करके करना चाहिए था question सब. You should not feel that. So that was my point of view about giving the actual CAT.
Right, Gunjan. Aditi, I want to come to you because you are in an institution like XLRI Jamshedpur, clearing an exam like that, which requires some amount of extra preparation as compared to what students will normally do for CAT for a section, let's say a section like decision making, which has itself a sectional cutoff, or something like a essay writing or a GK, which does not have an initial sectional cutoff, but then for the final result, they are included as a part of the overall result. So just want to understand for these three components, this is the first is decision making, for which there is a sectional cutoff, and we find that a lot of students actually falter in decision making because that is the only exam where you get this section. Then in GK and essay writing again. So I want you to touch on all these three aspects for all the students who want to appear for an examination like that.
Right. So the advantage I think that that had was there were no sectional timings. So we could interchangeably solve any sections except the GK and the essay, which was giving a different time altogether. So starting about the decision making section, there are previous years that question papers which are available online. So that will give you a insight on how the questions are set and what is expected of you as management institute candidates to answer. And there will be detailed solutions on why you have to choose those particular options. So solving those that related decision making questions becomes very important for you to ace the decision making section for that. And DM is something that will break or make your that altogether. So for decision making, that is what I did. Talking about GK and essay. So GK, I think you'll start with these GK sessions with Kumar sir eventually in a few days, which will be conducted on every Sunday. So I think you should ardently follow those, make notes, and be sure and like keep following the news, which is very important because sometimes RCs are picked directly from news articles, so following news also becomes very important. And for the essay part, you will start getting WAT assignments, and for students, it becomes like, okay, this is going to come after I get my calls. This is going to come in the GDPI section. This is going to come after I have had my calls. So this is not the case. For that, you have to write an essay at that moment, and having practiced is enough is only way you can write a 400 word essay in 15 minutes, because if you don't have the right thought process of how you're going to approach an essay, or you don't know the structure that you're going to follow, then it is going to be problematic for you to do it. Like, the time you have for that is only a month. So developing that structural ability of writing an essay becomes very difficult in a month. So start right now. Whatever assignments you're given, don't do it every day. Obviously, that is not possible. That is not feasible. But at least write two essays per week and send it to ma'am. She takes the time and she appreciates every essay. She finds all your faults and then she gives you improvements also. So please reach out. Reaching out becomes very important when you're doing all these activities. Is what I would say.
Yeah, and I think very valid point raised, Atiti, that you need to start preparing, because a lot of students have this perception के call आ जाएगा तब start करेंगे prepare करना. But without realizing this fact that in a span of 1.5 months, which you typically get, not even 1 month sometimes, between getting a call and the actual interview, it becomes difficult to develop this ability of writing an essay or clearing a PI, all of those things. Unfortunately, Gunjan had to drop off because of some impending assignments. So Aditi would be still there with us. So Aditi, just also want to understand from you, continuing from this question, that uh, how do you also actually prepare for the GDs and the PI stages? Did you start preparing for them? And it's a very important question for a lot of students, that के कब prepare करें, CAT का result आ जाए उसके बाद करें, after giving exams, or should we start preparing from right now onwards for the GDs and the PIs and the VATs?
Right. So the most important content of your GD and PI becomes your general knowledge and your current awareness. Because any GD or any PI can spin off in that direction, and you as a person, you cannot say that no, I haven't read this news, because they'll tell you you cannot be an unaware manager, and they'll shoot you off right there, right there. So start reading news, start getting an understanding of what is going on and why it is. And the most important learning that I had during my one of my mock PIs was, don't think about anything as a layman. Think about everything as a manager. It is very important. You have to always think about any task which you are going through as a manager. Okay, I'm a manager. What will I do? As a manager, what can be done? So it becomes very important to keep your layman view aside and get that managerial perspective in place. And developing this is going to take you at least 3 4 months. So what if you read an article, go back, write 2 3 points about it. Okay, these are the pros as a manager, these are the cons as a manager, and these are the suggestions I will give as a manager. So this becomes the news part of it. The next important thing in PI becomes understanding yourself well. So they are going to grill you a lot about on why you're doing an MBA, especially if you're an engineer. They'll tell you which way degree. That is what they're going to say. That is going to be the first question, or that is going to be their first statement. So you should be confident enough to refute the fact and confident enough to state your view that this is wrong and I am not wasting any degree and what I'm doing is right. So be confident in yourself, and this confidence comes only when you practice a lot with your faculty, with your friends. It becomes very important, and having that comprehension of thoughts, having a proper say in your words becomes very important, because if you fumble, they understand that you are nervous and they're going to take you down from there. So that you should understand yourself. Third becomes the background that you come from. So being a coming from a computer engineering background, they need you to understand. They don't need you to know your entire syllabus, but the main topics they need you to be aware of. The fundamentals of computer engineering, like DBMS, for example, they'll ask you random questions from that. So once your call starts coming out, Time will release a compendium of various questions that are available for every undergraduate degree. So please go through that. That will cover most of your syllabus for your undergraduation. And also keep in handy two or three subjects which you can fall back on if they ask you which is your favorite subject. So that comes for your undergraduation. And if you have a work ex, write down points and relate it to how you will improve it in the management school. Always have a pros and cons list ready for everything you speak of, and don't say anything without processing it. If you talk about a particular subject and they ask you a lead on question on that and you don't know that, that means that you are not aware of the subject at all. So whatever you say, make sure it is in a loop and you know every single word that you're saying. That is what I would say. PI and GD is something about the more you understand yourself, the more time you give, it becomes easier for you later on. And for GDs, we did not have GDs, but we had a group of like the, my time classmates. We had this unofficial group where we used to decide GD topics and have GD discussions take place. So that is something you also can start, because everything cannot be conducted by the institute initially. And giving at least one, like practicing a GD for every week for like 5 6 months will give you an understanding of which points to put forth, how to refute points, and how to properly and appropriately put up your stance. So yeah, that would be it.
I think something this is very, very clear from Aditi is saying is that it requires time. It cannot be developed in a day. So it's not कि interview आ जाएगा तब preparation शुरू करूँगा है ना, that kind of thing does not work with a GD or a PA. Then it looks a half baked kind of a preparation when you don't give sufficient time to read a lot of these issues which are currently going on and prepare accordingly. Aditi, obviously you appeared for a lot of interviews. Any interview that you remember which did not go along as to what you expected and it completely went the other way around? You got pretty nervous in the interview, and if you have to summarize two three learnings out of that, what would be those two three learnings? What was the interview, the context, and how did you go about doing managing that interview?
So the shortest interview I had was one of my first interviews for NMIMS. So I think I was the last candidate in the particular panel. And as soon as my video started, they asked me questions on finance. So they asked me questions or terms which I wasn't aware of at all. So I got blabbered and I asked the panelist, sir, I don't come from a finance background, so I won't be able to answer these questions. So then he replied very rudely that, do you think that engineers are here and you can get away without doing finance? So then I politely replied, no, sir, that is not what I meant to say. I want to come to college to learn. So in the heat of the moment, you have to understand what the panelist is going through. Maybe he had a lot of candidates who told them that I want to do finance and could not answer any question. That might have been his mindset. So responding appropriately to the panelist becomes very important. So I like as the interview was flowing, I understood that this is not under my control and I have to build on whatever the panel is asking. And going into GK or general knowledge or general awareness questions is a blind spot, because they can ask you anything from anywhere. So you have to try to not let them go in that direction. So when such an interview comes in place, put in terms which you're aware of. So like my family business is from real estate. So I started using real estate, plots, rate is something that I started using. And that is how the other interview took me back to renewable energy and real estate. And that is how I shaped my interview further on. The first learning I had was how much ever you plan any interview, how much ever you decide this is how I'm going to go, the interviewer can have a completely different thing in his mind, and you need to be ready to adapt to the situation. You should not show that you are nervous on your face. If you show that, your interview ends there. And third, I would say be ready for any kind of surprises in an interview. So in this particular interview, I was also asked about a guesstimate, which was out of random and I was not aware of it. So be ready with a structured process of what you're going through, what you have thought. So be ready for surprises is what I would say. And at the end of it, the you don't know how you performed until you get the results. So like, do your best and don't get nervous during the interview process. After that, okay, you will get nervous. You will think why, what I did, what I should have done. But during an interview, don't show the interviewer that you are nervous, and he's trying, and then he'll use that against you.
I think just a follow-up question to this. Sometimes you get trapped in a corner in an interview, right?
Right.
So how do you typically come out of that trap and probably succeed for the following question? Because what happens as soon as you get into a shell, the panel also comes to know about it, and then typically what happens is the interview tends to end over there. Well, they might continue for another 5 minutes just for the sake of it, but more often than not, the interview tends to get over. So how do you ensure that such a situation does not arise, and if it ever arises, how do you typically come out of it?
Right. So whenever, okay, so this going into a shell situation arises when you don't have enough background information of about a topic which is being discussed. So if you think at a moment that if this goes forward, my interview is going to end abruptly, tell them. They accept it. The interviewers know that every person cannot be aware of every fact. So tell them, sir or ma'am, I'm not aware of this topic. So can we please ask questions other than that, or just simply mention that I'm not aware of this topic. So this, as a result of this, they will move the discussion to a different topic. Because they know that every person cannot be aware of every topic. And if it does go into a shell, don't randomly answer because for the sake of answering. It's okay if your interview ends abruptly, but don't make a fool out of yourself at the end of the interview. So if they ask you about the value of, suppose, gravity, g constant, and you reply as 100 when you know it's 9.8, they are going to straight off cross you out of their selection process, because they know that no, this is not the candidate we are looking for, because she faltered in such a uh, basic general knowledge skill that everybody should have. So if you go into a shell, don't blabber. Just tell them I don't know. And if you are in the process and you know after this the interview is going to end, tell them, sir, I'm not aware of this topic, and then they will definitely move the topic to a different. They will definitely move the conversation to a different topic. But don't lie to an interview, because they can catch your lies easily, because they have been doing this forever now. So don't try to outsmart them, and be as truthful as you can at that point of time.
Right. Aditi. Okay, so I have been joined by Mohit. Mohit, are you able to hear us? Can you just unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
sir.
So I'm being joined by Mohit Suryavanshi. Mohit is currently a student at T.I.M.E Bhubaneswar, which is again one of the leading management institutes in the country. Mohit, can you please switch on your camera?
Just a minute, sir. I'm just connecting the charger. I'll do it right away.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yes, sir.
Right. Good to see you, Mohit, and more importantly, good to see you clean shaved. These schools do these things to you, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Mohit. I believe Mohit was also busy with some kind of assignment. That's a problem with calling students in the mid of their academic sessions at a good B school. Tend to find it very difficult to get them in the first place, and more importantly, retain them for a very long time. Fortunately, Aditi has been able to be with us for such a long period of time. Uh, Mohit, just want to understand, and that's something which I was discussing with Aditi as well, that uh, when you are preparing for examination like CAT, there's a lot of mindset preparation which is required more than the skill which you have with
Yes.
respect to solving quant, with respect to solving DILR or verbal. It's a lot of mental
Yes.
fortitude which is required. So just want to understand your take on this, Mohit. How did you develop it? What was the mental challenges that you faced while preparing for examination like CAT? And more importantly, on the day of CAT itself, how do you overcome all that fear which is there in the mind of not doing well on that particular day?
Yes. So I would like to answer this. The thing is that the mindset is a very important part when you're preparing for CAT. And the first thing that you should do is have a positive mindset. Because when I initially started giving mocks by time, thing was that seeing my percentile, I was quite disheartened. But the thing is, if you are very confused or very anxious about your results, first go talk to the concerned faculty. They'll evaluate your complete result. The thing that I was falling short of was accuracy. So the first thing is you address your problems first. You have like 3 months in your hands, I guess, 4 months. So you have a lot of time to prepare for it. So try giving as many mocks as you can. Don't overburden yourself. Keep it to 2 to 3 mocks per week. Analyze it. That's the important part. If you just keep on giving the mocks without analyzing it, that would be a waste of your time. 2.5 hours that you given there is the total waste. So analyze them. See where if you are consistent. When you start seeing a pattern, then go to the concerned faculty and just ask what part of it you should focus on more. So the advice that I was given was to focus on accuracy rather than the number of questions I attend, because this is an exam which marks you negative for every wrong answer. So that's the initial thing. And also don't focus too much on your percentile in the mocks in case they are not improving the way you want them to. So just focus on your work, keep working. So this would be an advice which you should follow when you're very pretty close to the exam, like 2 or 3 weeks for the exam. So don't let your percentile or your previous historic scores to affect your performance in the actual exam that you will be attending. Because I'm very sure that you'll score better, way better in your examinations, in the real examination, than your mock. And just clear your mind, have a good routine set up for yourself, have your hobbies in place where you can relax, get time to relax, and also get used to the stress as well, because it does help you in the MBA college. As sir said that we are not, though we were very interested and very eager to address the students, they do keep good B schools do keep you occupied all the time. It is a trend. It is even a deliberate thing as well initially, and also it is something that you need to get used to because the positions you'll be holding would be of like such great importance that you need to keep yourself busy and stressful and still work through it. So initially you have a lot of time. Just give many mocks. Go for sectional tests after evaluating what sections you are weak in. Many people have a hard time like coming up with strategies to crack a certain area like DILR or QA. So just there were people in my batch who were not good in those areas, but they were good at analyzing questions and picking out questions which were medium or easy level. I would say that don't go for the weightage thing, because though it is a thing, uh, they can disrupt the system completely and they can go off the usual weightages they used to follow. Then just keep yourself ready for every topic, at least for the easy and the medium questions, where you'll spend less time and there's less proficiency needed in that particular section. So keep that in mind. Work accordingly. Don't ignore your strengths, because many people focus only on the weaknesses. So they ignore the strengths, and somewhere you can where you get the small edge is the is your strength part. So if you're very good at the verbal section, so even if you get just the passing or just the clearing criteria of the other two percentiles, VA or whatever your strength is will help you clear that other 2 or 3% in your overall percentile. So that's from me.
Right, Mohit.
Yes,
I
sir.
think, yeah. No, no, this is a question which a lot of students tend to ask all of us, that why CAT as an exam is so difficult, as compared to the other management entrance exam. And probably, I think all those people who go into good B schools realize after going over there that why was CAT as an exam actually difficult, but because they realize the life after that is more difficult than what they face. For probably giving exam would look like a cakewalk to both of you once you have reached over there. Am I correct in my assessment, Aditi?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Yes, sir.
I
So
would say
talking
that,
about the B plus, go on, Mohit.
yes.
You
Yeah,
go on.
Aditi,
So
Mohit, come to you.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I would like to say that we are used to seeing examinations as a knowledge-based exam. This is even called a management. This is a management entrance exam, but it is actually a management exam. You would be managing many things here. You would be managing your stress. You would be managing your time. You would be managing what you focus on more. So once you manage, the people who crack the exam are not necessarily masters in those fields, in those particular subject domains. So that's the thing you need to understand. You are fighting against time and you are fighting against stress. So the exam is not completely knowledge based. It's you if you have a good proficiency of it and you can manage it well, you can crack it easily. So do learn management first. Yes.
Right. Do that management first. Well said. Aditi?
Yeah, so adding on to what he said, so right now I would prefer giving 100 CAT examinations than going about my daily schedule because I haven't slept in the last 25 hours and I still have an assignment pending at 4 o'clock. So, as Sir said, there are a lot of obligations that we have and we are put through them deliberately. It is not always necessary, but they want us to go through the stress. And the first experience of that stress comes through the examinations. And exactly as Mohit has mentioned, you have to test your time, you have to test your mental skills also, like how you manage your brain in those 40 minutes of time. So, yes, management examination is basically a test of your temperament, then a test of your knowledge, and being confident in yourself is what will get you through, and not being knowledgeable. So you have to learn to manage things at the early age, and that is what you will learn as you go forward. Also, in all the other examinations that you'll face apart from CAT too.
Right, guys.
I would like to add on to what Riri said. She covered most of it very nicely. The thing is, I would say that that's where practicing mocks comes in. Because if you have practiced very less mocks, uh, the thing is that when you practice a mock, you have that opportunity to do blunders here, do all your blunders here, do all your mistakes here, do your experimentations here. Like you have an extensive collection of mocks that you are able to give, even SAMCATs, everything. So you can do your mistakes here. So it won't be on the D-Day that you are like, "Arey, ye karna chahiye tha. I shouldn't have stuck on this question. I shouldn't have given so much time on this question." So this is the mock actually tests you on all those parameters. So take your mocks really seriously and the assessment as well. Yes.
Right. So I think it's important to treat mocks as more of an experimental ground rather than treating it as
Yes.
a thing where you need to get as much score as possible. The better idea is treat it in the stage that you optimize your score every time. You understand what probable mistakes I can make and how can I work on improving it so that I don't make the same mistakes again. Well put forth, guys, both of you. Mohit, want to understand your interview experience as well. I was just talking to Aditi and she gave some accounts of how interviews can go in the wrong direction, probably not in the direction in which you anticipated. Have you ever had an experience in all the interviews that you have given that the interview has really not gone along the expected lines? And more than that, how do you come out of the whole process and ensure that you're not, what also happens is this tend to be a lag on effect that if you do good in one interview, you tend to be confident in the next interview. If you don't tend to do not as well in one interview, there is always that there at the back of the mind कि यार ये भी अच्छा नहीं हुआ तो क्या होगा, that kind of a thing. So have you
Yes.
ever had such a kind of interview and how do you come out of that mental state?
So the college I'm in right now, that was the most tough interview I'd say, XIMB. So that's a good learning that if you are into the interview, if halfway through you have performed badly, let's say that you are not very satisfied with your performance so far, you can definitely there's a chance in the even in the last 2 minutes to turn their minds completely, turn their judgment about you completely. So it's never that you have lost your opportunity there. And plus you'll be applying to many B schools. So keep that in mind that you have to calm down and assess your interview, assess the overall answers you have given over your overall performance according to you. Talk to the faculty first. So I used to call sir after every interview, discuss with him, and I used to get very good insights. So talking does take the pressure out, even if it's not very positive, or even though if it is positive, it motivates you in some way. Because there would be interviews lined up someday. one after the other on consecutive days. So you cannot give yourself so much time to get back into a calm phase again. So practice that first. Do something. Like I said, hobbies do help. Some people meditate, that does help. So see what helps you calm down from a stressful situation. And plus, in interviews, as Aditi said, that if you don't know something, let them know that you are not aware of it. Apologize. You can say that, yeah, sorry, I'm not aware of this. I will go through it. I will read it someday. So that's one thing. And don't look at interviews as something that they are like they want you to fail it. They want you to pass the interview. So they want to see how you perform. So they want you to question you, to judge you on topics which you are proficient with, which you are like well acquainted with. So the get the basic GK, the current affairs in place. They won't expect you that if you don't know the vice president or the president of India, that would be something that would be a definite red flag. So don't do that. But keep yourself in check. You shouldn't. You're not supposed to know everything about everything. But yes, steer the interview first to a direction. So that's the reason you need to fill your forms and the CVs. Some B schools do require you to upload CVs. So upload your CVs and fill the forms accordingly. So you can steer the interviews into some interesting domain, into some interesting area where you are very proficient. So that's one thing. And managing pressure is the most important thing. So there's no one formula that works for everyone. Just find a way to manage your pressure there. So yes, just if you realize basically that you need to manage pressure because you cannot just cling on to some bad interview or bad experience, you'll automatically do that. Your brain will work that way. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that steer the interview so that you'd be confident about the topics that the interview will propagate in. So yes, take care of that as well.
Right. Mohit, also want to understand from you the same thing which I asked Aditya a few minutes back as to how do you prepare yourself prepared for the GDPA and the VAT stage? Because lot of students tend to prepare it saying कि अभी से prepare करके क्या करें, CAT भी clear नहीं हुआ तो it would be a wastage of time. Now that kind of a thing is always there in the mind of the students कि पहले CAT का result तो आने दो, then we will worry about interviews, right? So what was your own thought process about preparing for this? Did you prepare it from once you start preparing for the CAT itself, or you followed the idea that let my CAT get over and then think about this? How did you go about doing it?
Going about this, like the inputs that we were given in the verbal ability section, like we were asked to write a few essays, few small exam posts. So those were the things that did help us in being acquainted with certain topics, the hot topics which were there. And I wouldn't say that you should wait for the CAT to come in before you start investing your time for GDs and PIs. You should start them as soon as you have started your CAT preparation, because the topics that they will consider, they will decide to test you through, won't be something that happened just a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It would be something which is recent, but still in the past year. So keep yourself in the habit of reading such stuff. Keep yourself in the habit of analyzing and debating with yourself about how this could have been better, how this could have been worse, how is this decision better, how is this decision worse. There are no right answers there. They just see your approach, how you approach a particular question. Don't be redundant. Like practicing, the one thing that they can easily make out who had practiced and who had not is people who have not practiced much for the GD or the PI tend to become redundant. They try to like say the same thing in different sentence formation. And this is not your engineering or your undergrad examinations that you can just use the one sentence and make 10 sentences out of it. So you need to have clear topics. You need to have at least two or three valid points and distinct points to talk about it. So have your knowledge about certain domains like economics, cultural. If there's some budget coming in and there's an interview after that, read about that. Read what the recent advancements are in technology, if you're from the technological field, they would expect you to take that point of view if you're from the technological field. So they do see that how much you're connected with your undergrad or your overall work ex as well. So be connected, critically analyze. If you have a group of friends, if you have your, fortunately, you have your classes being conducted offline. So form a group of friends who can debate. You pick a topic, debate on that, critically analyze every topic that you come across. If you feel something is important, one other another thing that helps is watch the news debates. The ones which are less shouting and more insightful, watch those with with no politicians. So in those there are many subject experts who have very points put forth. So you get an idea of how to put forth your point, how to. There are many people who get confused. So yes, that's one thing that if you don't prepare for GD and you don't have your points in line, you cannot find your space to go between some other points. And there are people who keep on talking and you cannot even get your first point in. So that's something that you cannot just practice in a month or practice in 2 weeks. So do start practicing for that as well, because CAT preparation for CAT won't require you to go on studying for 12 hours or 14 hours like a UPSC guy. So you have the extra time, invest the time, and it's a one-time thing. If you do well in this, you end up in a very good college. If you don't, you need to compromise on the college you were first dreaming of. Or many of you have your goal set, like I'll end up in the first 30, first 20, I won't go below first 40. So to achieve your dream, you need to get in touch with all of these things and not wait for the D-Day and just start a month ago. Even a month ago is too late for this. So you start preparing for it along the way. Yes.
Right, Mohit.
So I would like to
Uh,
say something to that.
please, Aditi, go ahead.
With GD and PI, it is not only for your like getting into college, but it also becomes important for your summer internship placements here. So here we are going through the same process again. So now that you have a good base on it, it becomes easy to build on. So think about it in a longer perspective. All your like the life you're going to have henceforth is always going to revolve around GDs and PIs. So investing time in that right now is a really good investment you'll do according to me. So please invest in that because that is your make and break factor in like post your CAT examination.
Right. Thank you so
Yes,
much, guys, for
very
putting
good
it
point that
across. Yeah,
Aditi
Mohit, sorry.
mentioned. Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, Aditi mentioned a very good point, and I would like to add to that that when you enter a campus, actually, there are people who are way mature and way professional. Like you cannot expect it to be something like an undergrad. The topics that people discuss on, the networks that you form, it is based on how much you can invest or how much you can contribute to a certain discussion. So the discussions here are extremely mature. Like there are people talking about politics. There are people how, like the initial thing that we discussed about was everyone comes from a very different geographical background. So we discussed about how the culture there is, how it has molded over the years. There were people who are very much aware of the history of their cultures. So you do get many points to speak on, and when you get your word in, your networking becomes very simple. And you do know that MBA, the most important part of MBA is networking. So all of this helps you throughout your career, throughout the 2 years of your MBA, through your summer internship placements, interviews, through your final interviews, and through your complete career, because you won't be just working and studying here or studying only the subjects here. So yes, it does help in getting a richer points in when there's a contribution needed in discussions. So yes, so keep yourself ready with many such nuggets, such golden nuggets to throw in and just be the star of the conversation. Yes.
Right, guys. I think highlighted very important point that interviews, this preparation is not just only for getting into a B school. Post once you get into a B school, these whatever you have read also helps you in having a better conversation at the institute itself. And I think all of you will probably agree that you go to a B school for building network, right? That's a very common answer that you tend to get when you ask questions why MBA in a mock interview. You want to build networks, but a good network will be built only when you yourself are capable enough to contribute, right? if you're not able to contribute yourself, you will never get that kind of a network built around you. So good, guys. And in fact, there was a recent study which was conducted by Economic Times in IIM ABC, where they asked people who have just completed their final campus placements as to what are the three important things which companies are looking at. And one of the very important things which companies are actually looking at is your overall awareness of the world. So, and this was like the second year interviews which were conducted in ABC. So they were basically looking at three kind of skills. The first one was how resilient you are. Second one was how adaptive you are, and the third one is how well you are aware about the world. So they were not asking questions on finance or marketing or HR. They were mainly asking about the world around you. So I think well done, well put in point, guys. कि वो सिर्फ इसलिए जरूरी नहीं है because you want to get into a good B school, but to survive and to probably thrive over there, you need these kind of skills as well. And this whole round and round point, going about a point, is something which we see very frequently in VAT. The same point written in four different ways, but I think you cannot blame the students for that. Probably the university examinations have made them so capable that they can build a one-page story around a single point. The same
Yes.
point being written four times in different languages. So I think that's something which you need to avoid when you go to a good B school. Guys, two more questions. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I understand that both of you are extremely busy in your campuses. Just two final questions. Aditi, how did time help you in your preparation for CAT as well as in the post GDPI process? I want you to highlight with that, because what happens is lot of students tend to miss what we offer. So they are probably not even aware about 80% of the things that we are offering. So I want both of you to highlight on these issues. So let me start with you, Aditi, first.
Right. So the most important thing that time has offered me is the faculty that there is. Any small doubt, I used to always run to Weber sir. I used to text him on Telegram, ki, sir, I am not getting this. I need to meet you. I cannot understand anything, and I have done this from the day one to my last day. Same goes with Verma ma'am. I used to text her on WhatsApp, ma'am. This is something I cannot do. And we used to discuss strategies. We used to discuss VATs. We used to discuss RCs in so much depth that it gave me an overall understanding of many other things at the same time. And she used to share with me extra nuggets also to read and like watch or go through. So the mentor mentee session or the mentor mentee accommodation which time gives you, I don't think any other institute will ever give you that kind of interaction with. The second thing I would say is the GK sessions. So initially, I also thought that GK sessions, like, why should I attend them? Why should I wake up on a Sunday morning and do GK sessions when I can practice quant? But please do the GK sessions, guys. They are very important. They'll give you a base of everything. Like, you'll understand basics of economics, you'll understand basics of history, you'll understand every base which is very important for you to build on later on. So GK sessions is something I would say is very important. Please go and attend those. Third is the apart from the MCATs, which are scheduled, there are other, you have SAMCATs also, you have sectional tests also. Please make use of all these resources which are available on the portal. The more you test yourself, the more you can analyze what you're doing wrong and what you can do right. And CAT is more about understanding what you're doing right than what you're doing wrong. So just stick to the right and like go forward with that. So the various tests which are available, please go through that. You also have various articles which are updated on a daily basis on the time portal, which are also really good. And those, like, you can summarize. As I started with my verbal preparation, I should summarize articles. So those could be your like set of articles which you could summarize. After the post GD, I would say the kind of questions that were put up on the portal for my undergraduation, as well as the various GD topics which are available, as well as the VAT topics which were available, that was something which time gives you, which is immense. The content is something which you cannot ever get hold of. You cannot ever say, ki, okay, I'm done with all the content that time has given me, and this is it. So that is not going to happen in your case. And the most important thing is the PIs. Both the PIs which I had transformed me as a person, transformed me as a person who gave answers to different questions, because they'll call the best faculties or the best esteemed people in management take your interviews, and their perspective is something which will enlighten you more than anybody else, because our faculty is there and they know what to ask us, but the different perspective that comes from outside becomes really important. So please 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 do your PIs really well. Just don't go कि okay आज PI है तो जाके देखते हैं क्या होता है. Prepare well for those PIs as well. Give a 10 to 15 days preparation for those PIs, because if you do that, you will get the best feedback and you can build on that feedback to have a better second PI. Also, you will have something like ad proc session coming up where you have to analyze your AIMCATs, and then sir will help you out with the different sections and different colleges. Please schedule that session as soon as possible. Don't delay it. Don't put it towards the end, because then you can understand your problems, discuss it with sir, and build your plans accordingly. Most importantly, I would like want to end with it. Please reach out to your faculty. They are always going to be there to help you. If you don't reach out, they are not going to know who needs help, but if you reach out, they are going to go way beyond to help you. And trust me, this is what has helped me sail through in this 4 5 months of duration I prep. If the faculty would have not been there, I wouldn't be where I am today. So please, the faculty is something, please use it efficiently, please. Yeah, that would be it.
Thank you, Aditi. Mohit, your take on this?
Uh, Aditi actually like first of most of it, she covered most of it. So I would say that the thing she mentioned, that the faculty is extremely approachable. That's the most positive thing and the most helpful thing that there was about time. The second thing is that the content. The content is so extensive that you cannot. It's more than you'll ever need. So just utilize it, exploit every bit of it, how much you can, and also I would say that the admin part of it, that they are constantly updating you with deadlines and everything. So I was very bad at keeping deadlines in check. So that was one thing that takes the load off you. That you need to keep on checking what the deadlines are. They just have a section. You just keep the deadlines, checking the section, and you get your deadlines in place. So that's one thing that the portal really helps. So do explore the time portal that they have, the your dashboard. Explore every bit of it. The GDPI modules, the GK modules, the GK sessions. There were many pointers in the GK sessions that did help me during the GDPIs. Like the people do know that there was a fall of Lehman Brothers in 2008, but many don't know that that was the housing corporation scam. It was due to subprime. You get the details, and when people see that you have such detailed points regarding a certain topic, people just know the most of the people just know the heading of certain event. So when you have something, the subtitles or more detailed stuff to talk about, that's where the attention comes in, because everyone knows what the heading is. So that's where the GK sessions comes in. Also attend all your lectures diligently, because there are many things discussed with like many things discussed off the subject topic as well, which are very important. So yes, so the faculty is great, very approachable. The GDPI rounds were very extremely helpful. The industry representative that comes in, he's as close as it can get to an actual PI. So he doesn't have a previous judgment of you. He doesn't know you. So he doesn't know your strength. He doesn't know your weakness. So it's a completely unbiased interview experience that you'll get. The assessment that you'll get is extremely helpful and extremely thorough. So do take care of that. That you get your PI scheduled, your ad pro sessions scheduled. You're continuously in touch with your faculties. Whoever you're, I'm sure that everyone is very much comfortable with approaching your faculties. So do that. If you're not doing that, start doing that. They do take out time. Do understand that they have their own responsibilities to take care of too. So they will respond to you. So keep your follow-ups, keep doing your follow-ups regarding that. So I would say that these are the basic thing, that everything you need for for preparation of CAT is given by time. The faculty, the approachableness to any faculty, the GDPI preparation, the insights you get, the GK sessions. It prepares you completely, and this doesn't mean that you don't put something from your side as well. So you should put your own efforts into, and this takes care of everything almost the time module and everything. So use it. You have paid for it, so use it, exploit it completely. Yes.
Right, Mohit. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm being joined by Roshni now. Roshni is currently a student at I.M. Kozhikode. Welcome, Roshni, for this session. Unfortunately, she also got delayed because of her own institute commitments. Uh, Roshni, we were just talking about the kind of preparation which is required uh, for an examination like CAT. And Aditi and Mohit are both people who have work experience. You come from a background where you are typically a fresher, right? If I may say so.
Yes.
That right. So, and there are a lot of freshers who are there with us, and that is always a question that is asked to me as well as a lot of other faculty members कि सर fresher है तो experienced student के सामने हमारा selection होगा क्या? You know, so that is the kind of fear which lot of freshers have. So, what is your own suggestion on this, Roshni? Because ये fear के साथ lot of students do are not able to put in their 100%
Yeah.
कि
So,
हमारा नहीं होगा, that kind of fear. So can you just talk to those students and say, see, I am a fresher, I've been able to do it, so you would also be able to do it.
yeah. So basically, when I was interviewed, so there were many things, but the extracurricular matters a lot over there. So I had played volleyball at state level. I had done fashion show. Though extracurricular activities should be more if you are fresher, and the way you are representing over there it matters a lot. Like many times there were few of my friends who were having like communication skill, but the resume was also very good, but the way they were talking it was looking fake totally. So whatever you're representing it should be true and real, and the academics and projects we are doing that should be thorough enough, like any question they are hitting and you should be able to answer. And most importantly the GK section, that should be the focus because they concentrate more on GK section when you are a fresher, and the project section. So that is a myth that experienced people have been taken a lot, like here it is like 50% freshers are there, and so there is a greater chance if you're a fresher because they want fresh talents more because like in the competitive environment, if experienced people are required, pressure is also required. And we can see that the ratio of the girls and boys is also increasing. So there are many chances of getting into good institute nowadays.
Roshni, just one follow-up question to what you have just said that when you appear for an interview as a fresher, what kind of questions do you typically can expect in an IM interview?
So firstly, introducing yourself in a good manner. It should not be fake. And the second should be the project. So they focus a lot on projects in the second way. And coming to the end, the GK section. So all the interviews I have given, so the sequence was quite enough similar to all of them.
Okay, so you should focus on GK and academics, right, Roshni?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what was the kind of questions that were asked to you in an IM Code interview?
So the first question was to introduce myself. Okay, and after that they wanted to know the why I want to do MBA, and what if they won't provide me placement? What is my next plan over there? After that, coming to the projects, so they asked me many things about the project, also the recent technology related to my field, and at the end they asked me about the general knowledge about the elections, budget, and all.
Right. So for all those people who are there with us in our freshers, Roshni has actually provided you with a list of things that you need to do if you want to clear an IIM interview being a fresher. All right, guys. So just last question to both of you before you get to your own work and your commitments. Roshni, if you have to give all the students over here a single piece of advice, just one advice to them, yeah, okay, this is the most important thing that you should do if you want to get into an IIM or in a big B school. What would that one advice be?
So there are majorly two advice I would like to give. The first is that when we are preparing for CAT exam, the main thing that we try to do is the things we don't know. So instead of that, focus on the things that we know. Like for quant, the measure of my sections were 5, and I thoroughly went through that only. I didn't pick up the other things. So for that way, and the second advice is that during the exam, people panic a lot. The same happened to me. I gave the CAT in 2020, but I was so stressed out that the paper was like horrible, and my percentage was very low. So when the next time when I prepared, I was very much cool and calm. So what is going to happen, I'm just going to do it in a mental peace. So just keep your minds very calm during the exam. So just keep these two things in your mind, because these are only going to help at the end of the day.
Okay, so calmness is something which is very very important for an examination like that if you want to do well in spite of all the preparation that you have done. Aditi,
Yes.
what would be the one big advice that you would like to give to all the students out here listening to us?
So basically, don't be an engineer. Practice and reach out. Simple. Don't carry all those personality traits you had as an engineer of missing classes and like taking everything lightly. Don't do that. Reach out to your faculty and practice a lot. If you practice, eventually everything is going to fall into place. For me also, CAT didn't go so well, but JAT did, and I am in a really really good institute. So please practice well, and like eventually things will fall into place, and trust the process. You need to trust the process, and you will definitely get a good college.
Hello guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible now.
Okay, unfortunately, I just lost you, Aditi, in between.
But I was
Yeah,
saying, don't be an engineer and like learn to reach out to people and practice a lot, and eventually things will fall into place. Like for me, CAT didn't go so well, but CAT did, and I am in one of the greatest schools in India. So trust the process.
right. Okay. Well, that's that's all the time that I can ask from both of my panelists, both Aditi as well as Roshni. Thank you so much, guys, for taking time out from your busy schedule. I know it is a tiring job to give almost 1.5 hour from all the commitments that you have. I think it is it's really a pleasure for me as well as for all our students to listen to your own experiences of how do you actually go about and go about reaching the dream that you have set for yourself or the goal that you have set for yourself as soon as you start or join a batch for CAT. Thank you so much, both of you. And unfortunately, Mohit had to again leave because of his commitments again. And as uh, what I would like to say, as well as Gunjan, who had to again leave in between. So I think just as a concluding remark, I think what the stories of these four of us tell us is that is not they're just one among you, right? So it's not that they are from an NIT or an IIT, which is typically how you look at a big IIM or a big B school student के IIT या NIT का होगा. They are just one among us, all of us, you, including me. And I think if they can do it, then I think you also can do it. It's just about keeping a faith in yourself, having a belief in yourself that you can do it, following a process, and keeping this in mind that this is where I want to be. Aditi ke bare mein to since I've taught Aditi and I also got a chance to mentor her for some time. That she was something, and again with Mohit as well. Roshni ke saath did not have that kind of an interaction. Just had an interaction at the time of interview. So they were very very clear in their minds that okay, I want to go into a good B school. Otherwise, it's a better idea that I'll take up a job and try it next year. So I think all four of them have that kind of a commitment towards the goal that we want to achieve. And I think that separates people who go into a good B school to people who are not able to go into such a good B school. The kind of commitment, the kind of resilience, in spite of the fact that the things are not going good, it's not कि उनका score हमेशा बहुत अच्छा आता था. There were always ups and downs. The whole thing is how do you manage through ups and downs is something which determines how far you reach. So thank you guys once again for joining me, for taking time out of your schedule. It was a pleasure to talk to all four of you, and more importantly for giving insights, and I think it would be very, very valuable coming them from students themselves to our students. Thank you so much, and hope all of you do much, let's say 1,000 times better than what you did over here, and make our institute, your parents as well as Nashik proud. Thank you guys, and
Thank you,
have a
sir.
good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye guys.
Bye.
Okay guys, for all the other students guys, just a small announcement. Please do not leave. Just a small announcement that we have. There is a session that we have scheduled on next Sunday, which is a master class on profile building. A lot of you have doubt as to how do I build my profile. So there's a class there's a session which we have scheduled on Sunday 17th 11 a.m. So I hope all of you will find it to be an extremely important session, considering the time that we have left before the CAT exam starts and before you start filling the forms for interview. For all the non-time students guys, there's a link which is given to you at the bottom. However, please understand that link registration will start from tomorrow onwards, right? So you can have that link, you can just click a screenshot or write down that link so that you can attend this. You need to register for this workshop, which is going to be conducted next Sunday 17th July 11 a.m. and the registrations are going to start from tomorrow onwards. So that is all that we have. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday morning, all of you. See all of you in a good B school, interacting with me in the next year as we had for these 4 students. Bye guys, and take care.